House is going to be busy next week fixing another problem. They're going to vote on a new hate crimes bill. It's going to expand the current law to include people that are transgendered. But who's being left out? Radio talk show host and president of Culture Campaign, Sandy Rios, is with us. Sandy, what is the hate crimes bill? I've never understood the hate crimes thing. I mean, I think all crimes really, if I beat you to death or I beat you up, it's probably because I hate you. But, you know, call me a simpleton for not having levels of hate, I guess. Explain the hate crimes bill.
Hey, I think you actually understand it very well, Glenn. I mean, this is really thought police, and it has been in the various countries and areas of this country that it's been tried. The end game is to control how we feel, for the most part, about the homosexual lifestyle. And it's presented as hate crimes, and of course the case is made that they are particularly singled out and mistreated and harassed, and so we need some sort of extra legislation to protect them. But the truth of the matter is, if a person is murdered, it's a pretty hateful crime. If it's your grandmother, it's not a nice thing to murder her.
Look,
you know, so to distinguish, it really is as ridiculous as you intimated in your
I mean, I don't understand this. Look, I mean, if some guy comes walking in and he's wearing a dress and he's obviously a guy and you know, he whatever, I look at him and go, think to myself, well, it takes all kinds. But then if somebody came around and they were like, hey, girly man, or whatever they were saying, I would stand shoulder to shoulder with him and say, or her, and say, back off, back off. Well, I mean, that's common sense.
Yeah, well, did you see Miss California just answer the question the other night?
Yes.
And did you think the response was common sense? I mean, she's crazy, she's wacko. Some of the other contestants said, I was shocked that she said a thing like that. Common sense is not part of the social fabric right now.
I thought it was a big
you cannot have, I think you're right.
I thought we were all supposed to have diverse and appreciate diversity. But okay, so somebody introduces on the floor. They say, well, why don't we include U.S. service personnel in this as well? So if there's a hate crime perpetrated on a service personnel. This was Congressman, I think, Tom Rooney that said that. He said that veterans should be protected in the bill. This is what Debbie Wasserman Schultz said. Watch this, and I'd like to get your response.
I have sat here silently for the last hour or so, listening to a litany of categories that are non-existent when it comes to violence perpetrated against them. The members of the armed forces being yet another example. Now, I'm from a state, as Mr. Rooney is, that includes and represents a district that includes real victims, large groups of real victims of hate crimes. I represent a very large, one of the largest gay populations in the United States of America, one of the largest Jewish populations.
Okay, so she's saying that military members are not real victims.
Well, she's saying that anybody that's killed or harmed is not a real victim unless they're homosexual or gay or Jewish. Then they're real victims. So you can murder more severely if they happen to be homosexual or Jewish.
Whatever happened to
makes no sense.
What happened to equal protection under the law? If you kill someone, they should go to jail. What happened?
Let me tell you something, Glenn. Glenn, let me tell you something. Actually, there is equal protection. Let me give you an example. The Matthew Shepard case that became so famous around their plays, and everybody knows the Matthew Shepard story. By the way, ABC later debunked the fact that he was killed because he was homosexual. It was a robbery. Nevertheless, the perpetrators of that crime did get life in prison. On the other hand, we had a lady here in Chicago, a Mary Stakowitz, a Catholic widow, who had a gay neighbor who started sharing scriptures with him, and he ended up killing her. Well, could I also say that he got life imprisonment? So my point is that we do have equal protection. We do not have to elevate the level of punishment or the law enforcement brought to bear on people just because of who they are or what they look like.
All right, I appreciate it, Sandy. We'll continue to follow this next week because this is going to be in Congress. And I have to tell you, America, I think what we should do is we should just all take everybody's little group and we should have them listed in hate crimes. If everybody has their group listed in hate crimes, then everyone would be, you know, have equal protection, because then there wouldn't be a special class of people.
I'm not a crook.